like to extend a warm welcome to the four panelists of this short webinar on corporate strategy post-COVID lockdown. And I also extend a warm welcome to all the viewers wherever they are for viewing this event. And before I proceed with the seminar, I would like to say a few things about Pendakanti Law College. The Pendakanti Law College was established in the year 1990, and it is one of the prestigious law colleges in twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad. The law college was established by Vasavi Academy of Education, and this Vasavi Academy of Education has Vasavi College of Engineering, Vasavi College of Management, Vasavi College of Music and Dance, and Vasavi Public School, apart from this law college. And the academy is headed by President Sri Ram Mohan Rao Garu and the Vice President, and also Treasurer Parthasarathy Garu. So, Pendakanti Law College has a tradition of holding food courts, confidential seminars, every year on a regular basis. And this has been a practice in the college. And now also, and coming to the theme of the webinar, that is corporate strategy and post-COVID lockdown, we have seen, we have heard, and we have read in the newspapers how the corporates have suffered during the lockdown, because the lockdown was so sudden without any notice. So everybody was stuck in places where they were, and they could not move. And the worst effect was on the corporate bodies. And now, after the lockdown has been lifted in a phased manner, the corporates have re-strategized their operations and functions, mainly to negate the negative impact of the lockdown. But I would not like to say more about this, because we have four eminent experts in the field of corporate governance who would throw light on the strategy that the corporates have adopted after the pandemic. So I first of all welcome Professor KVS Sharma, who is the Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra National Law University, Aurangabad. He will be the first speaker, but before I invite him to address the people, I would like to give a brief introduction. Sir was appointed as a Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra National Law University, Aurangabad on 20th August 2019. And Professor Sharma obtained his BCom degree from Sri Venkateshwara University in 1980, his BL degree from Sri Krishna Devaraya University in 1983, and ML degree from Andhra University in 1989. He secured the Rao Saheb Venkaya Gold Medal for securing highest marks in ML from Andhra University. He secured his PhD degree on Consumer Protection Act, a socio-legal study from Behrampur University in the year 2000. He enrolled as an advocate on 11/11/1983 in the State Bar Council of the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. And subsequently, he joined as an assistant professor in Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad, in the year 1999. He became an associate professor in the year 2000 and professor of law in the year 2005. He was a member of the Academic Council, the Executive Council, the General Council, and the Planning Board of Nalsar University of Law. He was also a member of the legal expert, and also vice chairman of the ethics committee of Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad. Apart from his positions that he held earlier, he also held the position of Consumer Law Chair, Professor, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, New Delhi, and Nalsa University of Law. He also initiated and started an MBA course in Nalsa University. He was nominated as a presiding arbitrator in a dispute between NTPC and Singareni Collieries Limited. And he wrote 3 important books, which are titled as follows. Firstly, we have Modern Law of Insurance in India. The foreword was written by the celebrated advocate N.A. Palkiwala, and then a second book titled Criminal Law, where the foreword was given by Justice Jeevan Reddy, and the third book is titled Law of Contract Administration and Tender, where the foreword was given by Justice Madan Lokur, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. So this is the brief introduction as far as Professor K.V.S. Sharma is concerned. And now I request Professor to present his opinion on the theme.
Good afternoon all of you. Respected Professor Dwarkanath Garu, Principal, Pendekanti Law College. Respected Dr. Pundla Bhaskar Mohan Garu, Senior Advocate, High Court of Telangana. Respected Dr. Rajmouli Garu, Company Secretary. Respected Sri Ashish K. Singh, Co-founder and Joint Managing Partner, Capstone Legal. Respected faculty members and my dear students. Today's topic, the organizers allotted to me to speak on corporate strategy post-COVID lockdown. First of all, corporate strategy means business may be done by 3 organizations, or a person can do business in 3 ways: sole trading concern, or partnership concern, or company form of business. Now here we are confining to corporate strategy means company form of business only. In this company form of business, we may get private companies, public companies, listed companies, one-man company, even LLPs also, limited liability partnership. All these organizations will come under this corporate sector. Now, with reference to this COVID-19, all organizations, they are facing so many problems. Ethical issues they are facing, moral issues they are facing, economic problems they are facing, societal problems they are facing. And with reference to economic aspects, what are the precautions? With reference to social aspects, what are the precautions? After the lockdown, what we have to take, what this corporate is, that aspect we are discussing now. With reference to this particular aspect, what are the problems means? First one, it has to reorganize their business in line with the demand levels. This is first important thing. All these days, the company may be having a capacity to produce, let us think 1 lakh tons, but it should not produce that much. It has to see the demand, how much demand is there. According to that demand, the company has to produce. It should see demand and supply. According to what you call demand, it should supply. Otherwise, the company may incur huge losses. This is first aspect the corporate should take into consideration. Second thing, bringing employees out of what we call this this tension or what we call stress from corona. So the corporate should appoint at least some psychiatrists or counselors to counsel the employees how to face this particular problem. That is very, very important in law schools, in IITs, in all premier institutions. We are facing this problem because of stress. The students, what you call, they are facing so many mental problems. So like that, here also the employees may face so many what you call mental or what you call psychological problems. So counselors or psychiatrists are very, very important in every corporate sector, the company's management should appoint psychiatrists and constantly they should counsel, what you call, they should guide the employees of the company or workers of the company. Then the third one, very, very important, adapting to social distancing rules and maintaining the health and safety of the workforce. Social distancing that they have to maintain. For that, what you call, instance, if they have employees previously, if they are running in 2 shifts, now better to make it double, 4 to 6 shifts. And instead of asking the employees to work for 8 hours, reduce the working hours to 4 hours. And in that way, they can maintain social distancing norms. This is very, very important aspect. Otherwise, this particular COVID will spread and entire community will suffer. Not only the employees of the company, once they come out, the public also will suffer in case they don't maintain the social distancing norms. Then managing employees who are unable to work due to the continued effect of virus. Constant supervision should be there whether the employees are able to work. Sometimes employees, after what you call this particular disease attacked, they may recover, they may come for a job. Then in that case, if the other employees, if they distance that particular employee, then he may face so many problems. That's why in Karnataka High Court, Chief Justice, what he did, one employee got corona and he recovered. Once he recovered, after recovering from that particular disease, when he went to court, he himself came out, Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court himself came out and he received that particular employee, so that he gave some confidence to the other employees that particular employee is free from, like that. See, the CEOs or top brass should take care of the employees in case if they attend the duty after completing the after recovering from this particular disease. Then adapting long term to the challenges and opportunities that this unprecedented period has presented. Now this particular disease, how many months, how many years it will go, we don't know. Till today we did not get vaccine or medicine. So some chief ministers are saying that we have to live with this. We have to live with corona, they are saying. How the vaccine will work, we don't know. So long term, not only short term, 6 months, 1 year, because immediately after this corona effect, we did not prepare our university. What we did, okay, anyhow 2 months we will recover. After 2 months, let us have regular classes, like that we thought. But we realized that it is 1 year, not only 6 months, next semester also we have to conduct. After that also there is no guarantee that we can conduct physical classes. Like that here also, we have to prepare for long term, at least 4 years, 5 years, this particular disease will be there and we may not be having this particular vaccine. Then in that situation, how to, cope up with this. So long term plans that they should adopt, they should prepare this particular strategy. Then work from home, normally all software industries, they are hiring the employees. Even in manufacturing sector also, suppose non-teaching, that is not non-teaching, that is the administrative staff. If they can work from their home, the company should allow them to work from home. Suppose they have quarters within the premises of the factory, then the organizers can ask, the CEO can ask the employees, you can work from home whenever necessity is there, please come and attend the office, like that. This particular system also they should adopt. All over the world, this system they are adopting, particular software. This we should extend to even manufacturing process also. Wherever possible, whichever the departments can work from home, the management should allow them to work from home. And washing and cleaning regime, this is very, very important. Outside, we have to keep this, the sanitizers, facilities, all these, and for washing of hands and washing of clothes, if they work beyond 8 hours, sometimes. So this particular aspect they should take care, and increasing the shift system, already we discussed. Then job security to the employees, this is very, very important. Now this particular period, the employers, the organizers of the company should give some confidence to the employees. They should see that in case they are unable to pay full salary, they can say we pay you half salary or 1/4 salary, like that. They should reduce the salary, but they should not remove the employees total. And alternative way also the organizers can use them to what you call to generate the revenue. That aspect we will discuss after some time. So job security, the employers, the organizers of the company, management of the company should create among the employees. And at the same time, whatever possible CSR implementation nearby company, near the premises of the company, any slums are there or weaker sections are there, if the better the company should try at its level best to discharge even CSR obligations also. All meetings nowadays they are conducting through video conferencing. So through video conference also the employees can work. This system also the organizers should strengthen. Then insolvency and bankruptcy. From the government side, in case any company fails to pay the loan or fails to discharge the debt, the government already declared during COVID period for certain time, IBC is stayed. The government said they should extend for one more year from government side. IBC should not be in operation for some time. Then reviewing the contracts with third parties, because this we can treat it as a frustration act of God. We, there is no court decision that treating it as a frustration. So whatever contracts are there, all these contracts immediately, according to the what you call extension of time, all these before the expiry of the time only, all contracts the employers should renew, and again they have to examine according to the present circumstances. They have to incorporate clauses, and they should what you call review the contracts with third parties. Then reassess insurance, that is insurance policy to all the employees. COVID insurance, every organization should take, because nowadays we are seeing lakhs of rupees the employees or the every person should bear. So mediclaim is one important thing. All employers should take mediclaim policies for what you call employees and workmen, particularly to cover this COVID disease. Then enhance the focus on employees. This is very, very important. Employees' problems, the employees should take care, so the employees also can work effectively and efficiently. Then establish a clear social investment strategy. Suppose if you see some what you call some organizations, they are selling what you call manufacturing units. They are diverting their business strategies. Some organizations they are entering into retail sector. They are even though it is a manufacturing unit, selling vegetables or what you call whatever that is required for today's need. They are diverting their attention objects, and they are doing for this particular purpose. The Companies Act and the government also should relax this, even though it is not in object clause. It may come under objects which are incidental or incidental to the attainment of main object. Under that particular clause, the government should treat and allow the companies to divert their business, even though it is not connected to. So this particular facility, the government should give to the companies. If you see so many hotels now, they are converting their hotel industry into hospitals. Suppose a company is incorporated to do hotel business. Now in Hyderabad, we are seeing in almost all cities, we are seeing they are converting the hotels into hospitals. They are employing the doctors. One way they are doing service, and they are providing employment to the employees, and what because they are also generating some revenue. Like that, for alteration of object class, some facilities the government should give. Then providing customers with safety guarantees that restore a trust. This is very, very important. For customers, confidence should be created, as this company will not be. Suppose these airline companies are there nowadays, SpiceJet and all these, if they are unable to provide proper precautions, they are giving this sanitizers bottles, they are giving this face shields, they are giving masks, like that, one seat they are leaving. Like that, some confidence also, if it is airline industry, it is creating confidence. We can travel now because the management is taking proper precautions. So in that way, they create confidence to the customers, passengers. Passengers will also travel in airlines, and airlines also will survive. So customer confidence is very, very important. Then safeguarding the health of the employees already we discussed, and rebooting the operations and supply chain. This is very, very important point. The supply chain is what you call, this is what is called joint venture. If any similar organizations are there, if they enter into joint venture, instead of amalgamation and absorption, acquisition, joint venture, all companies which are manufacturing similar articles, they can enter into joint venture. Otherwise, they can form a what you call a cooperative society. All companies can form, and jointly, if they do, they can what you call face this particular problem. So this particular aspect also we can take into consideration. Then, if we come to this particular aspects, we are seeing the employees traveling in what you call metro in Mumbai. How jam-packed compartments they are traveling to reach the offices. So this will create a lot of problem in future. So as far as possible, better to create residence to the employees or workers in the premises itself. At least that particular person only. Families will stay in their houses. At least employees, for employees and workers, if the organization is able to provide some residence single room facility, so that the scope is very less for the employees to be attacked by this particular coronavirus. Then already we discussed this hotels converted, and these companies, so many companies which are specialists in particular field. Now people are free, they can spend some money and they want to acquire new certificates, new courses. So online courses, software companies can offer online courses, manufacturing units can offer online courses, short-term course, they can charge nominal fee, so that company also can generate revenue, because National Stock Exchange, it entered into MOU with National Law School, Bombay, and it is offering what you call LLM. Like that, some universities are entering into MOUs with Taxman Publication, is entering into MOU with XYZ, insurance law universities. I don't want to mention the name because those are in MOUs, those MOUs are in process. So even companies are entering into MOUs with educational institutions, and they are offering some courses, online courses. In that way also, if you charge nominal also, lakhs of people, suppose Company Secretaries Institute, nowadays I am seeing, it is offering so many courses. Each course nearly 400, 500 officers are, company secretaries, officers are registering. They are charging 3,000 only. But for one program, 12 lakhs, 15 lakhs, like that they are earning. The same thing companies also can do. They can divert their attention to education field. Whatever specialization they are having, they can offer this particular specialization to the public, so that public also will be benefited. Company also can generate revenue. Then already we discussed this what you call cooperative companies can form, and jointly they can. And recently we are seeing schools and colleges, they are converting into hospitals, they are keeping this quarantine, what you call employees like that. If company is having large infrastructure accommodation, companies can give what you call some of the premises to the general public or government, and by giving that the premises, it can also generate some revenue. And these are some suggestions from my side. I am thankful to Professor Dwarkanath Garu for giving this opportunity. Thank you, one and all, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sharma Garu, for the insightful and erudite presentation in respect of the theme of today's webinar. Sir has spoken of building confidence in employees, particularly those who have been affected with COVID. The company should help them. And apart from that, he has also spoken of long-term strategies to overcome the negative impact of the pandemic and the lockdown, and suggested that people should work from home where people are already working from home. And then other measures like washing and cleansing programs should be made compulsory or mandatory in all corporates. Shift system is another practice that has been suggested by Sir, and various other suggestions have been made. So once again, I thank Professor Sharma Garu for being with us and presenting his views on the theme. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
And I now invite Mr. Ashish Singh. And before he presents his opinion, I would like to give a brief introduction of Ashish ji. Ashish Singh has a diverse practice ranging from complex commercial dispute resolution to taxation law. He has an experience of representing clients in over 700 cases, 11 of which have been reported by courts. He regularly appears before the Supreme Court of India, various high courts, trial courts, and arbitral tribunals. A representative list of cases showing his diverse areas of expertise are as follows. Firstly, commercial dispute resolution. He has represented India's leading hospitality company, Lake Palace Hotels, in a dispute involving transfer of shares and a claim of operation and mismanagement. The value of the disputed shares was priced at 25,000 million, that is pounds 250 million. Then secondly, advising and appearing for a renewable energy company, which is a Finnish government enterprise of Finland, in a dispute with respect to payment of development charges for construction of a solar power plant. The disputed amount was pounds 100 million. Then thirdly, representing a Lafarge Holcim Group company, which is a Swiss multinational company, in a dispute involving cancellation of mining lease due to change in the nature of the company from a private limited to a public company without prior permission. The value of the dispute was rupees 500 million. And then appearing in the High Court for ACC Limited in a challenge to a tender floated by state-owned electricity producers for sale of fly ash. Then representing United Ocean Ship Management Limited, a BBI company, in a commercial suit for recovery of illegal amounts paid by the company to its directors and third parties. And then the second area where Ashish ji has a lot of credentials is arbitration, where he represented HCL Infosystems in an ad hoc arbitration with power transmission companies for supply of software development and support services, and then appearing for Hindustan Copper Limited, a Government of India enterprise, in a challenge to arbitration award on the grounds of improper construction of contractual terms and public policy. He also appeared in an application opposing the appointment of the arbitrator by the High Court, arising out of a contract for supply of oxygen to the plant. And the third area where Ashish ji has a lot of credit is the banking and finance area, where he represented Corporation Bank, the Central Bank of India, Indian Overseas Bank, Karur Vysya Bank, and Indian Bank. And apart from that, he has also taken up tax matters, where he represented the Binani Cement Limited in an application under the VAT Act, and then represented 21st Century Wire Rod Limited in an Article 32 writ petition seeking waiver of pre-deposit in the light of the poor financial condition of the company. And then he was also appointed by the court as amicus curiae by the Rajasthan High Court in Bhagwan Singh versus Union of India in the year 2013. Then he was appointed as amicus curiae by Rajasthan High Court in Suomoto versus Inspector General of Police in 2016. He was appointed as a court commissioner by the Rajasthan High Court in the same case in Suomoto versus State of Rajasthan in the year 2016. And coming to thought leadership, he has been quoted by India's leading newspapers on issues ranging from corporate governance and dispute resolution. And then he has also I mean, he has been quoted as an expert of corporate governance in various articles that have been published in recognized legal journals in the country. And therefore, we have with us a very eminent person as far as corporate governance is concerned. And I invite Sri Ashish Singh to present his opinion as far as the theme of the webinar is concerned. Over to you, Mr. Ashish Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Dwarkanath, for the kind introduction. And thank you, Dr. Sharma, for your address. And looking forward to hearing Dr. Amiri Sethi after this. I would limit my talk and discussion to the practical aspects of the COVID-19 situation and how it has changed businesses, and some practical things which I have seen on a day-to-day basis for the past 6 to 7 months, just before the lockdown and also after the lockdown. I have divided the talk into 3 main parts. The first part is dealing with contracts and drafting of contracts and how it has become important, specifically during the time of COVID-19. The second part is how it has affected dispute resolution and what are the steps that companies need to take to avoid disputes and to settle disputes outside court. And the third part is compliance with respect to various laws, such as labor laws, sexual harassment laws, and others. Now, dealing with the first issue, the topic is corporate strategy. Now, I would like to indicate at the very onset that what COVID-19 has done is that it has caught everyone unaware about the various challenges and the loopholes that the company's policies have. And one of the major loopholes that we see is in the area of drafting of contracts. So for example, you see that there is a problem in the way that contracts have been drafted. They have not even taken into consideration the most important clause now, which is the force majeure clause. Now, force majeure clause, as you are aware, is not a creature of the statute. It is not a part of the Indian Contract Act. It is something which has to be incorporated by mutual consent of the parties in the contract. If that is absent, then there is no way in which one can claim any relief under force majeure. So then parties are now increasingly relying on frustration of contract. And as you have seen in the past, in various judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court as well as the High Court, that the frustration of contract theory can be applied in very, very limited cases. Due to this very fault in contractual drafting, we have seen many corporates suffer huge losses because they would have to continue to provide those services. Service providers will continue to pay for those services even if the services are actually not being provided or are depleted, because there is no force majeure clause which basically cancels the contract between the parties during the force majeure event. And wherever there is a force majeure event as well, wherever there is a mention of the force majeure clause in the contract, parties have reluctantly mentioned, they have just copied and pasted from some template, which has resulted in another issue where if pandemic or act of God is not specifically mentioned or act of God is defined in the way that it does not help any of them. That is one of the things that I have seen in the past 6-7 months from various companies, from various areas of law. Secondly is termination clause. So in contractual drafting, many of the contracts I have seen do not contain any termination clause whatsoever. And this is particularly true in the case of banking and finance agreements, where purposely they do not have any termination of contract provision, or the termination clause is very one-sided. So now when companies are forming a post-lockdown strategy or a strategy to be followed after the pandemic has actually hit us, all these things have become very, very important. And in future, drafting of any contracts should be done very carefully, keeping in mind the force majeure clause, keeping in mind what are the elements of the termination clause, and also frustration of contract. So all these things have to be seen, and this is a renewed strategy. Secondly, when we are dealing about contracts, it is basically meeting of the minds. So there is no amendment which is possible now, because a party which is getting the benefit, you must have seen newspaper headings or you must have seen cases in court being filed saying that please take a benevolent view, please be merciful about the fact that there is a pandemic, but generally we see in commercial agreements that is never the case. So now the latest corporate strategy, which should be adopted by almost all companies, should be to have a proper mechanism in which the contracts are drafted and also negotiated, which brings me to my third point, that how negotiation is being done is also completely changed. In the past, it used to happen face to face during meetings, and the minutes of meetings used to be prepared between the parties. So it was not so it was not so fast. Now it has become, everything has become via email or via video conferencing. Most of the events, most of the meetings are now recorded. So things have become, it has increased by leaps and bounds. So scrutiny has also increased. A single rogue email by an employee of a company or a single rogue email or an unsupervised email can be detrimental to the interest of the entire company. And that is something very important. So keeping in mind the importance of proper communication, contracts have to be negotiated properly in an organized manner with all chains of communications being preserved and extreme caution being exercised, what has been mentioned even in the online meetings. So this is a second part of the strategy, corporate strategy, which any organization which has just suffered the pandemic should keep in mind. Second sub-theme is dispute resolution. Now, once you have covered the contracts, how dispute resolution has changed during this time is that people have made COVID-19 as a reason to not follow through or not fulfill their contractual obligations or just get out of the contract. So whether the reason to get out of a contract, whether the reason to not do a particular act is attributable to COVID-19 or is it just being used as an excuse is another strategy which each organization or legal department of any organization has to see. So I can give you an example of a Chinese company's dispute that I'm currently looking at. The company was any which ways closing down. The moment pandemic hit us, they said due to pandemic, we cannot continue operations anymore. And several subcontractors were left in the lurch, but their condition was already very bad in the past. And as Dr. Sharma has already spoken, IBC has been suspended, so we have no other recourse. So whether this is just an excuse or whether this is the actual reason is something which all companies have to analyze and make it a part of their corporate strategy. Also, how the documents are being served is also very important for a company. See, contracts and communications, a company being a legal entity, it does not have hands or legs. It just has these communications through which it speaks. And once it speaks through these communications, how these communications or obligations are being communicated is also very important. In the absence of physical documents being sent, where these documents have to be served, whether it should be by email, whether it should be by WhatsApp, whether it is valid service or not, all these things are also important, keeping in mind that disputes are bound to increase. Although the appetite to fight cases has reduced. If you have seen recent talk by Mr. Harish Salve QC, he says that the appetite to fight the disputes has reduced. Nevertheless, disputes are increasing every day. Which brings us to the topic of how disputes can be resolved outside court. Now there should be a promotion, and now I'm coming on the prescriptive part, that there should be a promotion on the outside settlement of disputes through mediation. Now mediation as a practice has developed in India in its own way, because we have a culture of, we are a highly litigious society in the sense that we have a lot of cases pending. Companies like to fight the cases right up till the Supreme Court and all those cultural aspects. But I was in for 2 months. I was in London as a Pegasus scholar by the Inner Temple, and I realized that in London, under the English legal regime, they try to resolve disputes by mediation, and it's a specialized practice. There are practitioners who are mediation practitioners, and they are mediators. Now, during the post-COVID lockdown strategy, all companies, because we have a specific provision in the Arbitration and Conciliation Act about mediation, the Civil Procedure Code also provides for mediation. The courts are also promoting mediation. Nevertheless, it is for the corporates to take it as a strategy that before filing any cases in court, we should try to mediate these disputes. And it should be either done through a mediator or through an informal conciliation proceeding. So ADR method should be promoted, is one of the prescriptive parts of my talk today. Now coming on the last part, which deals with compliance. Now, compliance of various laws, as you have seen, because the pandemic hit us so fast, but the laws did not change. The laws continue to be the same. And there are various laws which need to be complied with, which have now taken the realm and which have gone beyond the office. I'll give an example of the sexual harassment laws. Previously, it was only in the workplace. Now, where is the workplace? The workplace has increased manyfold to each person's home, each person's mobile phone, each person's laptop. Each meeting which is conducted remotely, where will that offense take place? How will the inquiry run? What is appropriate and what is not? So all those things, I'm taking an example of a particular law. As we speak today, I am sitting here in Jaipur. Many of you may be in Telangana, some of you may be in Tamil Nadu, other speakers or other people hearing this talk may be in all parts of the world. So the world has become completely flat, and companies should realize it when dealing with issues concerning compliance of laws which are statutorily available, because laws are not going to change. It's not possible to change all the laws keeping in mind the pandemic immediately. I'm sure it will take some time, but in the meantime, companies have to adapt their strategies accordingly. So given these things, these are the three parts of my discussions, and I would like to suggest that the biggest lacuna today in the Indian legal regime is the absence of a proper and effective data protection regime. That is something which is missing. Now, if there's an absence of a strong data protection regime, what should a company do? In that way, the company should have very strict confidentiality agreements. I have seen in the past companies sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, as a routine. There is a cyclo-style format which comes in front of the person. It is signed, it is sent and exchanged, and it is said that the NDA is now executed, although it is never enforced. But now, given the situation that employees are based all over the country, people are taking confidential information, personal information outside the offices. Security is no longer limited to a security guard standing outside your office, but limited to your systems also, expanded to your systems also, or PCs and mobile phones as well. I think there is a strong need to reconsider all these digital agreements, all these agreements, keeping in mind the digital increase which has happened due to COVID-19. With this, I would like to thank you again for giving me time, and thank you so much for inviting me for this talk.
Thank you very much, Ashish Singh ji, for the precise and powerful presentation with regard to corporate strategies. And one should appreciate the way the presentation was divided into three parts. That is force majeure provision in contracts, and then how COVID has affected dispute resolution, and thirdly, compliance with various other laws. And then also emphasis was made on negotiations, because of the COVID, the negotiations have become online mode instead of person-to-person meetings. So, the point raised by Mr. Ashish Singh in respect of emails, if they are not proper, that would reflect on the reputation of the company. So companies have to become more alert in respect of emails being sent. Then also the third part is the dispute resolution, where during the pandemic, parties were trying to get rid of the contract. In the sense, they wanted to avoid the contract that they have entered into with companies. So companies had to counter this new development because of the pandemic. And then emphasis was also made on mediation, then data protection regime. And lastly, he has mentioned that there should be reconsideration of the digital agreements. Because today, because everything is digital and online, the digital agreements play a very significant and important role. And it has been rightly pointed out by Mr. Ashish Singh. So I thank Mr. Ashish Singh once again profoundly for being with us today and giving us very useful insights into the corporate strategies. Thank you very much. I next invite Dr. Rajamurli Amir Shetty. Before he starts his presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction of the resource person. Mr. Dr. Rajamurli completed his research project, that is his PhD in the area of industrial sickness, the labor, law and policy in India. And he was awarded Doctorate of Law from Osmania University in the year 1994. He acquired the PhD degree under the guidance of the celebrated legal writer Dr. Avtar Singh, who is also a noted legal luminary. And it is also pertinent to mention that most of his recommendations in the said thesis were incorporated in Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. He was also a member of the Faculty of Law, Osmania University for a certain period of time, a visiting faculty to Hyderabad chapter of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, then Symbiosis International University, and also Dr. Marty Chennarity, Human Resource Development Institute. He delivered many special lectures on subjects like insolvency and bankruptcy code, law of contracts, arbitration law, labor laws, company law, constitution law, and tax laws. Apart from all this, he also handled certain high-profile cases in the areas of civil, criminal, and corporate laws in courts from district level to the Honorable Supreme Court of India. And in the process, had the opportunity to interact with leading senior advocates of repute and also with persons from famous law firms in India. He led business teams to various countries like South Africa, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Thailand, and Mauritius. And he also authored certain books on law. And the first book that he had published was titled Textiles, Law and Policy. Secondly, Law Relating to Government Contracts. Thirdly, the Drone Law in India, with special reference to opportunities available to startups. Then fourthly, Lectures on Bankruptcy and Insolvency. And fifthly, Lectures on Banking and Negotiable Instruments Act. And he also contributed many scholarly articles in prestigious legal journals and magazines in the country. With his academic excellence and industry working expertise, he was involved in various corporate strategies, mergers, and acquisitions. So, though the resume is brief, but it speaks a lot about the achievements of Dr. Rajamurli, and I now invite him to present his views on the theme corporate strategy post-COVID lockdown. Over to you, Dr. Rajmohan. Hello, Rajmouli, can you hear me? We cannot hear you. Unmute. No, unmute, unmute. Unmute.
Is it okay?
Yes, yes, yes. Now we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So again, I have to repeat. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to Professor Dwarakanath for inviting me, and my learned friends, Mr. KVS Sharma, Mr. Ashish Singh, and I also welcome all the participants in the webinar. And so, especially, I have changed my thought process of presentation because whatever I prepared, I mean, in flow of speech already covered by my friend, Mr. Sharma and Ashish ji in particular about the contracts, very thoroughly covered. However, see, I would like to, with the permission of the chair, I would like to go to a different area in the sense that, I must first of all congratulate the management for choosing this important topic of strategy, corporate strategy. Of course, they have titled it as post-COVID. I would like to cover for a few minutes on the corporate strategy itself, the importance of corporate strategy. So in fact, the companies in the thesis that I was, Mr. Dwarak was mentioning, in my PhD thesis, industrial sickness, the labor policy and all that, I thought. The point at that time, my assumption was the industries became sick because of the labor. That was my hypothesis. But in fact, we are in the fast moving society. Now I realize that most of the companies are sick because they do not have the proper strategy. Am I audible, Mr. Dwarak?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because of the strategy. In fact, most of the companies, even I would like to give some insights about the companies where I worked. I worked for about 35 years as key managerial personnel in most of the companies, and they had very important company, Tata Projects. In fact, how the strategy, I just want to cover the strategy, corporate strategy required pre-COVID also, and why companies are not doing for a few minutes, as I said. The point is, see, the outlook of the companies has now changed, totally changed, because earlier the companies were concentrating on various aspects. Now, most of the companies, as I know, particularly in the Tata Group, we have strategy vertical, and we have a chief strategy officer, CSO, which is very vital. And most of the companies are well organized because of the changes, because of the good strategies formulated before they adversely affect the company. Now, the company, corporate legal entity, as Mr. Ashish said, it doesn't have the ears or thought, it is run by the people. And its first strategy starts in the objects class. We mentioned XYZ, the company will do XYZ. That is limited objective, right? Then after they devise the mission and their vision and mission. In the vision, they incorporate what exactly they want to do, and through mission formulated, they try to achieve. This is nothing but a strategy, corporate strategy formulated at the beginning of the incorporation of the company, which substantially, because subsequently there should be change, unless there is a change, because as I said, we are moving our chairman, particularly I attended two of the corporate group level strategy meetings, one in Dubai and another in Mauritius. We used to go out, sit, thoroughly think of the companies. 50 companies used to be selected, and they used to present 50 companies. They present about the strategy, because, and then the group used to approve. No, you go in this direction. There used to be cross-functional teams discuss across. We used to invite the big five consultancy firms, EY or all other, whoever is expert, PwC, whoever is expert, and also outside corporate experts, and then discuss. The chief of the company will be presenting. All the business vertical units used to present their themes, and then cross-functional teams to use cross-functional teams used to discuss and arrive at the strategy and go ahead. This is how the companies are surviving, and companies will survive only because of the good strategy. Let me emphasize this. And unless we have a proper strategy, of course, post-COVID strategies we will discuss, but even before the strategy, COVID also, the companies should have and had very good strategic plans. Take an example of our company. When I joined, this 11 years I worked in Tata Projects. Ashish ji might know, because he is a corporate, contracting EPC company. We used to have a lot of legal problems. I handled really more than 2,000 crore arbitration matters. And then, complaints matters day to day, leave about it. The point is, the company which I joined was having 700 crores turnover when I joined in 2007. It was having only one strategy, one objective: construction of the power generation companies, thermal power generation companies. This was our PQ. Slowly, the concept of thermal power generation companies have slowed down. Or then the strategy, there was no option, because for 1 year, 2008, the 700 crores were going down. In one of the group strategy meetings, he said, "See, boss, you are an EPC company." The group chairman emphatically said, "You ought to expand. You have to have the strategy. If required, you invite me, and then, or you discuss and then give me a thorough plan strategy." See, later we have expanded into different verticals. Not only power generation, we have gone into various civil contracts, we have gone into water purification plants and several aspects. And that is how today the company is having more than 10,000 crore turnover. Last year when I left the company, it was 10,200 crore turnover, from 700 crore to 10,200 crore turnover, which we acquired, which we achieved because of the good strategy. Rather, I proudly say, because see, the strategy is very important, even pre-COVID also. So that is what I wanted to emphasize. And see, as Ashish ji and Sharma ji knows, see, the pre-qualification is very important. We were struggling. Even the EY, PwC experts were also there. How to acquire see, to bid to the company, how to acquire PQ. It's a new area we started. So very simple suggestion given by one gentleman, that I do not want to name him here, but he gave a, you partner with some foreign companies. So we have run after Germany, China, on various companies, and we tried to bid along with them, and we acquired. Now the company has got all PQs. It can bid for anything, airports, and now recently the company has earned construction of the prestigious Parliament building. So now my point is strategy is very important. And Mr. Dwarek, if time permits, you may organize some of the corporate successes and corporate failures, some meetings, take some themes and then we can discuss. That will give a very good, that will enlighten most of your students, in fact.
Yes, yes.
So how that let us discuss separately. Now, as I said, this outlook of the companies have totally changed. Now, the point is post-COVID, what to do? I mean, pre-COVID also it was essential. Most of the companies became sick because not planned. And post-COVID, how to plan is unexpected, and people are struggling like anything. And my son runs some business. He came with a policy, say, so, Daddy, I don't have any resources now. I do not want to pay the wages. Now, what is the remedy you tell? Because it's a self-learning. My company also immediately I went after the COVID and sir, we have to issue the force majeure notice, as Ashish said. Immediately we issued force majeure notice to all the companies wherever we have the contract, so that in case if they claim damages, we will be nowhere. So we issued notices. And regarding non-payment of wages, I said, it's not fair to cut down the wages at this juncture. Of course, wherever, and particularly non-payment of the rents where he hired some premises. So these are the very critical issues which I would like to emphasize. Now, this post-COVID situation, many of the people termed it as the VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We are in living VUCA now. Complete volatility, complete uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What to do and what not to do, In this scenario, even corporates also, which were having very good strategy, definitely are confused, total ambiguity. How to proceed, how to overcome these things is very important. In the process, what I thought is there are 4 remedies that we can think of. Now, firstly, the company's survival. It should have the survival plan at least, if not the profit orientation, immediate survival. How to be on the same level, pay the same salaries and achieve the same turnover, be in this is one important thing. Survival is very important. How to make a survival? Most of the companies are going to cost cuttings, and downsizing of the staff, which most of the people, even some of my colleagues have come out because of the cost cutting and ruthless policies. So I requested my MD, he calls me as Oregiri and all that, he is friendly with me. I said, sir, please don't do this. I said, particularly being a Tata company, a lot of people are, suffering like anything. It is pay some 25%, 30% wages and then, so, but however, they want to, this is, of course, I don't think a proper the plan, but how to survive is the question. Then the second is plan for ecological and environmental threats. This is where you have to have different verticals, different alternatives you have to plan, alternative futures. See, of course, some of the companies which are now in alcohol or company, they are manufacturing sensitizers. Some of the companies, pharmaceuticals companies, they are manufacturing PPEs and they're diversifying. But as far as the EPC company is concerned, there is no alternative, Raja, he says. Sir, we have an alternative. I suggested, sir, we have, as Sharma ji said, we have an EPC academy because we started. Sir, let us start some courses in the EPC academy. Some, complaints, how to execute proper project, engineering, plan, and particularly we had a very important course on the engineering construction and, supply chain management. The supply chain management concept has picked up like anything. And though we are not, recognized, I'll approach Sharma ji to give permission. So we are not recognized, but EPC supply chain management has received a very good attention, because see, a lot of people are joining, we are charging limited fee, but it picked up like anything. And being when a Tata company is training, they go for it. Now, I have introduced a compliance management system, like, labor laws, particularly, these things we are, the company is now diversified. And of course, build a strong organizational immune system. Now, this has given us very good scope. From COVID, you have to learn a lot. The companies have experienced it, but now one has to absorb this, immunize, and then utilize it for proper future planning. So, what to do? These alternatives, as I said, they can even, see this to frame alternative policies, even see strategy meetings. Even nowadays, when I was there in public sector also, they used to have brainstorming session. I suggested let us have a brainstorming session instead of terminating employees. Brainstorming session we had with the employees. Of course, some gadbad was there, but still we called it as town hall meeting instead of saying, brainstorming session, and, discussed what to do and all that. Most of the employees, particularly the senior employees, have come down and volunteered to cut their costs to 50%. Really, I appreciate most of the business heads. And even our MD also cut down his salary to 50%. And now thereby cost saving has diverted from, terminating innocent employees to the cost cutting in the senior employees, salary cut in the senior employees voluntarily, of course. And even those who are on the list of termination, they themselves came forward, sir, pay me 50% salary, that is enough. This is how we have managed it, mostly the planning went on well. So, and also integrate government politics, see during this COVID situation also, it is very unfortunate that governments are playing politics, which is now the companies have to, adjust into the ecosystem of the politics than into the corporate economics, which is, of course, but the companies have also should think, can they adjust with the government? Can they adjust into politics? And can they sustain and go forward? That is very important planning which is required. And would like to say that that the government has to definitely come to the rescue, as Mr. Sharmaji and Asiji said. There's an amendment to the IBC, of course. What they have raised earlier, IBC, my friends know, as I'm an insolvency professional. So people used to file a petition, 1 lakh and above, non-payment. Very ridiculous. Companies, see, against the Tata company also, when I was in service, then there were a lot of notices. So 1 lakh you are not paid, I can't file a resolution petition, really pathetic. So of course, the government has taken a wise step, it has raised the limit to 1 crore. Now, by way of amendment, ordinance, and at that time now ordinance is made an act. What they said is the dues accrued during this COVID period should not form part of that 1 crore. So for prior period, if there is 1 crore and due, of course, still you can take a recourse under the IBC. That was one important measure, of course. What the government has done, otherwise also, MSMEs are most affected companies. Now, of course, I was also in one of the panels to prepare the special insolvency process for MSMEs, which is very important thing, quickening the process, and then also take over section 29A should not be applicable and all those things, processes we have discussed it, and then that will maybe rolled out at the earliest. And what are the things the government has done? Reduction in GST is also one area where the government wanted to help, and they have helped also. As Ashish said, legal costs, other area apart from the wage, I was paying more than 7 or 8 crores legal costs. He knows how the cost will burden. So his suggestion that mediation as a method of resolution of the dispute is very important thing now. I think the CJI also advocated for mediation for the settlement of the disputes, which is very vital. Otherwise, the arbitration has become earlier before 2015 amendment. Of course, it was a mockery. At least 2015 amendment brought some changes, but now that even the adjudication also, so of course commercial courts concept has come, but still mediation is the better option. I strongly agree with the Mr. Asiji view that we should go for mediation as the better. Of course, there is a concept dispute resolution board. DRBs are there in the contract when you are forming force measure, DRB, alternate dispute resolution, arbitration, and also the court jurisdiction. We specially look into, of course, but still DRBs are there, but they are not so effective. So mediation will go a long way in resolution of the disputes, of course. This is how, see, the strategy, importance of the strategies, wherever, in the post-COVID, not only corporates, even the academic institutions or everywhere, they should also, plan. The point is, see, when academic institution like Sri Chaitanya and Narayana have made as China, Sri Chaitanya and Narayana. So this consolidation is also very important. Now, of course, people are thinking, and most of the industries, I would like to say, have become sick, mainly because of the lack of strategy. Today, once upon a time, postal department, very strong departments became sick because of the lack of strategy. Telephone industries, watchmaking industries, most of the public sector undertakings. See, more than about 33 state PSUs are there. Out of that, about 25, I had an interaction with the senior officials of the state government recently. They have 33 PSUs. Out of 33, 25 are sick. Why? Only because there is no proper strategy. Leave about post-COVID, even prior to that also. So, the planning, see, most of the industries that are affected are, of course, insurance companies, sports and entertainment, hyper-local markets, travel and tourism, retail and e-commerce, and fintech companies. Of course, some of the companies which are became beneficiaries of the COVID or e-retail companies, medical companies, IT and IT-enabled services, banks and financial services and insurance, BFSI industries, we say. Some of the FMCG companies also, through the e-retail marketing, they are also successful. They are reviving now. So I would like to reiterate once again that strategy is very important to the, of course, there are some government encouragement policies. I do not want to get into that. My other learned friend joined, it seems. So what my point is, the strategy do not important post-COVID, even prior to that also, the company should have the proper strategy. Most of the companies, CSOs are very on demand now, like anything, chief strategy officers, and which is very vital and important. So with this, I just want to conclude and thank the management, particularly Mr. Dwarak, and very proud to be with my co-friends, Mr. Asiji and Mr. KVS Sharma. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajamogli, for the erudite and insightful presentation, where we have spoken of the pre-COVID strategy and finally came down to the post-COVID strategy, where you had mentioned that payment of wages is a must, because if wages are not paid to the employees would suffer a lot, and it would not reflect well on the management of the company. And then Another point that was stressed upon by Dr. Rajmouli was the diversification of companies. Earlier, the companies which, the breweries particularly, who manufacture liquor, whiskey, brandy and other products, have now started manufacturing sanitizers. So they have diversified. This is a pro-COVID strategy on the part of the companies. And one example I can give is that of the legendary leg spinner of Australia, Shane Warne, who owns a brewery company in Australia. He also started manufacturing sanitizers in Australia. And this is because of the demand of the COVID. And then oxygen tanks has been in great demand. So some companies have started producing oxygen tanks and PPE kits. Initially, India imported PPE kits from China. I mean, the country where the pandemic actually started. We were buying kits from them, and then started manufacturing the kits in India itself. So then he spoke of the supply chain management, and then particularly the migrant workers. Previously, now migrant workers fall under the unorganized sector, and the construction companies did not really care about the welfare of the migrant workers prior to the pandemic. Very few low wages were paid to them without proper food, and they were exploited. But due to the lockdown, when they started migrating to their own states, the construction management companies realized that how important labor was. So they changed their strategy, and then they even paid for the travel of the migrant workers to come back. And then when they came back, they were given double the salaries, they were given accommodation, and they were provided with food. Now, this is nothing but the effect of COVID on the construction company, and the strategy has changed mainly to keep the migrant workers in place so that the companies do not lose the migrant workers. So once again, I thank Dr. Rajmouli for his presentation. And one unfortunate thing is that another resource person, Dr. Kundla Bhaskara Mohan, has been, I mean, he did not.
He's there at a place.
He did not come on board because he has some technical problems. Despite all the technical help that we have extended to him, he still did not make it. So it's very unfortunate. However, the program with 3 resource persons has been very, very good, informative, and I hope that all the viewers who have watched this program have received a lot of information as to the corporate strategy and post-COVID lockdown. And I don't know if my computer operator has made provision for questions from the viewers, but nevertheless, I profoundly thank all the 3 persons for being with us today, and I also thank the management of Pendacountry Law College for giving me the opportunity as a principal to organize this short webinar on corporate strategy post-COVID lockdown. So we are still trying to bring Bhaskara Mohan on board. So I kindly request you all to give us at least another 5 minutes. We are trying our best to bring him on board. If he can come, nothing like it. So I hope you all can give me 5 minutes more.
I didn't get you, Mr. Dharak. What is?
We are trying to get Dr. Bhaskara Mohan on board.
Yeah.
Bring him on the event.
Okay.
And we are trying everything. But I don't know why, because we use the same user ID in our system here and it got connected. But thing is, he's not getting connected using the same user ID. So it must be a problem with the system, or I don't know what the problem is.
Can we have a personal interaction?
Definitely, definitely. I invite the resource persons to have an interaction because as experts in corporate governance, you have so much knowledge, and if you interact and discuss things, we will also be benefited.
Mr. Sharma left, I think. Is there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Left, is it?
No, we did not actually leave. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Mine-
Ashish ji,
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you on some of the things like, particularly in these arbitration matters. We used to have a lot of issues while framing the arbitration class. Mainly, most of our companies, as I said, we used to have the foreign joint venture partners. So in that event, we wanted to formulate ICC as the SIAC as the arbitration center and ICC as the rules for arbitration.
Yes.
What do you suggest whether that will?
Sir, actually, I just recently had a good experience in this area. So I was awarded the Pegasus Scholarship by the Honorable Society of the Inner Temple, which is one of the 4 inns of the court in England and Wales. And I worked as a part of that with Blackstone Chambers and Outer Temple Chambers. And they get a lot of these matters, and I had a chance to be on the team which was doing some of the matters which have ICC and also which have other international institutional arbitration matters. Now, barring the cost aspect, I think it is very fair. You must have seen in your experience that as far as cost is concerned, certainly it is very expensive.
Yeah.
And if you engage barristers and others, it becomes very, very expensive, especially in England. So I am also a door tenant with one of the barristers' sets. So I advise their chambers on basically Indian law. And the primary area is only dealing with these disputes which have an international element. So from the perspective of the international joint venture partner, sir, I think it is very neutral. The arbitral tribunal, with all due respect, they do not have that kind of a confidence on an Indian arbitral tribunal than they have on a panel which is constituted by institutional arbitration. Secondly, sir, the way that they conduct their proceedings is very, very fair to my understanding and to my knowledge. And even if you are a nominee arbitrator by one particular party, that does not mean that you will pass an award in that party's favor.
Yes.
So that is something which is, and in India, certainly, as you have so much experience of past 30 years and so many different leading companies, you must have seen that generally when there is a panel of arbitrators, nominee arbitrator would decide in the favor of one party, the other arbitrator would mandatorily decide on the other side. But that does not happen in international commercial arbitration, specifically when
This is sorry to interrupt, sir. No,
Yes,
this is happening mostly, particularly in PSUs.
Exactly.
PSUs, what happens? They have the list of arbitrators, their own retired employees. Of course,
Yeah.
now because of the new schedule, it may not, but still, we used to have a lot of difficulty with them.
Yeah.
They
No,
opt to award in their favor.
in
Else,
fact,
they will not be chosen
Yeah.
for next arbitration.
Certainly, sir. Even yesterday, I was a part of an arbitration which was concerning several of these PSUs, including the power finance and all these companies. It is very difficult to convince the nominee arbitrator from the other side, and it's very difficult because that is not the purpose of arbitration.
Obviously, Indian scenario.
Indian scenario. So I think in international scenario, and it is also, sir, with respect to cost also. Now, after they have introduced the new schedule, which you may have seen to the Arbitration Act, if you see closely, sir, even the international arbitration is not that expensive.
Oh.
Now, even the sir, the legal cost, if you see the type of cost that is incurred by the company, the hourly billing that Indian law firms are now doing, they are at with many of the international firms. I mean, you would see that many international law firms would in fact charge less than Indian counterparts.
Yeah.
So broadly, broadly with international commercial arbitration, I think there is a lot of certainty in their area, in their field.
And also quick.
Also quick. In the emergency arbitration, you would get listing the second day.
Yes.
They will
Yes.
hear your matter. They will pass interim order. And what the Indian Supreme Court has done, sir, as you have rightly pointed out, the enforcement of an international commercial arbitral award is very easy in India. That I
Yes.
believe is simply, it cannot be challenged.
Yes. Yes.
So now that enforcement has become easy, I think it's a good strategy to have a neutral place of arbitration. Now you know that Hong Kong has become the second best option after the entire China debate that we are facing. So Singapore has gained importance. And
SIAC or any other.
exactly, SIAC and any which way, sir. Bombay has now also opened its own arbitration center now. Now the GIFT City in Ahmedabad is opening their own arbitration center. So everything is moving in that area, and each High Court has its own arbitration center.
Delhi High Court has got.
Yeah, Delhi High Court, even the Rajasthan High Court here has, and the level of arbitrators, their qualifications, and their fee structure is very much settled and fixed.
Oh, good. Which one do you recommend is the best international arbitration for
So
institutions?
I would go for ICC any given day.
Okay, good.
ICC would be something which is very certain, and I mean, in terms of the quality of the award, I think you will be more than happy and more satisfied than other places.
Great. See, even in India also we have got commercial courts. That has come, Mr. Sharmaji can tell, because see, this Commercial Courts Act has come as a different specialized vertical. But, I have approached and filed petitions before commercial courts, but same type, same slow
Same,
and
exactly same, sir. Exactly, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. But good thing is that, sir, latestly for international commercial arbitration, instead of the Supreme Court where the matters used to go, now they've given the power to the High Court.
High courts, correct.
So now each High Court has jurisdiction, so cost comes down for enforcement.
Yes.
Also. It becomes easier.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me. Mr. Bhaskar Mohan is on board, though we cannot see him, but still we can hear his presentation. So I now introduce Mr. Bhaskar Mohan to the other resource persons, because two of the resource persons already know him, except Ashish Singh ji. So okay, Mr. Bhaskar Mohan, can you hear me? So before you start your presentation, let me give a brief introduction. And after that, you can also make a presentation also a little bit brief, because we are falling short of time. Now, Dr. Bhaskar Mohan was born on 25th November 1957 at Hyderabad, state of Telangana. Dr. Mohan is a former judicial member and head of the Department of Jaipur Bench of National Company Law Tribunal. He is presently practicing as an advocate of High Court for the state of Telangana and also acting as arbitrator and conciliator. He is an MCOM, FCS, LLM and PhD in law. During 1995-1998, he served the Government of India as an additional central government standing counsel in the erstwhile High Court of Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Mohan has a rare combination of academics and professional acumen. He has been a visiting professor in the Postgraduate College of Law, Osmania University since 1991. He has, in fact, brought a fusion between courtroom and classroom. He served the Osmania University during 2016 and 18 as a member of the Board of Studies of Faculty of Law and revised the syllabus for LLB and LLM courses. And then he also convened the first national law exhibition in India during the period May 2017. He is a master trainer for the Institute of Company Secretaries of India in conducting training programs, courses on ADR and arbitration. He acted also as a sole arbitrator on several issues to resolve disputes between Messrs. Macrocare Clinical Research Limited, Hyderabad, and its employees. He is also associated with the National Judicial Academy, Bhopal, as a resource person. He was awarded PhD in 1998 for his thesis entitled Prevention of Oppression and Mismanagement under the Companies Act 1956, Problems and Prospects. Several of his articles were published in leading and recognized legal journals like AR, ALD, ALD. And apart from all this, he is also a life member of Indian Law Institute, New Delhi. And he was also appointed as a mediator by the National Company Law Tribunal, Jaipur bench on 12/12/2019 to resolve the disputes between Messrs. Pawar Singh Chauhan and others versus Messrs. Indana Pit Industries Private Limited and others. So this is a brief introduction of Dr. Bhaskara Mohan, who is the fourth resource person in this webinar. And I now request Dr. Bhaskara Mohan to make a presentation of his views on the theme. And over to you, Dr. Mohan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dwarkanath. Very good evening, Mr. Dwarkanath, and all the other speakers and dear listeners. At the moment, I really apologize that I could not access. In fact, I have been watching and listening to it, but unfortunately, my English is limited. I don't know what this is. This has been just from the COVID virus entering. So, probably because of COVID problems, I said that. Anyway, now I have taken that more friends. This is the interesting topic, and I have seen that all the learned candidates, the professors, and of course, letters, I made a very good presentation of the subject matter. I want to be aware of these things very deeply and like to impact it very quickly. Number one, like COVID scenario is specific election to the government that there can't be detachment, there can't be impact on payment of wages and so on and so forth. And in fact, whether the rules are not clear, it is not clear, but payments will go on, expenditure will continue. This is a big problem. And the thing, people have performance contracts, the leaders of the bank. In fact, I have been watching in the chart this one. Here, this was put by one of the leaders of Iran. I not let me think. It was made a already by people. COVID scenario, COVID. So, I think it is that. Now, both gradually. One more statement is concerned. Cannot be taken in all cases as a rule. Among the issue, and whether it is arbitration or law, the individual students and the thing of industry, and whether the particular industry really someone is not conformed into this lockdown, this is working industry. As for example, Supreme Court said that they were to 189 dictation that particular contrary what has been put would not be taken into account. The reason is that when the issue is specific that they get it is micro level by the Supreme Court. You know, specific is concerned. For example, let us see an example of upgrade. Most of the upgrade is instituted employees started working from home. Once they start working from home, that's a matter. Working from only for this number. The generally aspect is number whether there is a thing or not. The particular industry and if it is a first oriented industry, definitely there is a most weather is not supposed to enter in the Indians first, this kind of production of the industry. And probably depends upon his basis. Most weather is not cannot be applied as the universal. In the same way, there are other industries also. Insurance industry, for example, the personal sector, which is this class, is not to there. Then there is no place to work. So far, communication and Indian Act is considered as a particular series product. So for ITC, just as the series has been put up in the ordinance, that will be helpful. Otherwise, post-military clause may not be applied as a universal principle because the question has been put in the question box by me. And it was even though I am unable to enter into my answer is this for that. There can't be a straight principle universal and most whether it has to be taken because the type of industry, the characteristics and the circumstances and the industry work really or not, in fact, it is totally of the term and all the perspectives and combinations. The one thing which has happened to be the production oriented industry. The research, of course, transportation, for example, totally probably that will not be in the case it not be in the flexibility side. Now, a very important aspect, the second issue in the very construction business strategies because of post-COVID. Now the economy is growing. Issue maybe market steady, but it is slow. So what happens is that production or other aspects of concern overnight should not be seen. Whatever damage has been done has to be answered in a very systematic way. So populate can minimize the cost and then maximize the use. That particular aspect, I think, is more pragmatic to that. There was now a state of engaging specific managers and managers customers engaging regularly. And then there is aspect of community with regard to the leading issues. As an administrator, I am a number of arbitration cases, even in this particular like some of the applications are so fast online. So we had online real in this particular COVID infected area, once the outside in the neighborhood, corporate cannot wait for physical presentation because of various problems and backgrounds. One issue I said, dear friend, there is a company and several matters studying it about 25 numbers. Don't really know what they got. And now I think usually the problem because of COVID. Then I told them so far they otherwise, if 6 months or 10 months or 1 year, then the company would suffer any damage. So he said, finally, whatever the matters and the finally stage, he said, we started online and then he said by email, there is an outlet already papers have been submitted. So now we can take over. And then that is how update is taken here. So this is also one of the issues where we can see it. The law of the state is the language presentation and make it master. And then once the hearing is over, the legal for the architect or architect to do the make of their invitation. And then they do it and the administrator again they can also take the administrator and calculated amount in their own way and give it line and then let it drop. In fact, the maps are taken into the setting arbitrary they go off. There is persistence. Otherwise, it will be correctly lost. So these are all the kinds of technical guarantee and we can get over the problems which might be arising out of this particular COVID -19.
Questions?
And then looking for your attention and then presentation. So, I thank you very much and goodbye. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mohan, for being with us, at least in the end. And I'm really happy that you have made your presentation. And you have spoken of Section 56 of the Indian Contract Act, and then at the end, you focused on arbitration and then online arbitration and then how the COVID effect on online arbitration. So this is also a kind of a strategy on the part of the companies because of the COVID. So overall, your presentation has been very erudite and very informative. So I once again thank you. And this is for all the resource persons. There are 2 questions that have been asked by the viewers. So the question can be taken up by any of the resource persons. I will read out the first question. The first question is, where if a contract cannot be performed during COVID, will it attract Section 56 of the Indian Contract Act? Now, any of the resource persons can take up the question and answer. No, but this viewer again wants it.
Because I have already seen that question.
Okay.
But I could not join. So
Okay.
I have compensated because of that question.
Okay, fine. So I only hope that the viewer is satisfied. And another question is, will you think it is justifiable to nullify a shareholder agreement for not being contained in What is this AOA? Articles of Association cannot be contained in. Yeah, probably it is Articles of Association. Only
It's not clear. Dwarak?
that is what the question is like that. Do you think it is justifiable to nullify a shareholder agreement for not being contained or for not being part of AOA? What does this AOA mean? It could be Articles of Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be Articles of Association.
Yes.
So the question is somewhat dicey. So I do not know if the resource persons will be able to answer it. But anyway, now since the time is up, I would like to thank all the resource persons for being with us and for giving the valuable time. I once again individually thank Professor KVS Sharma Garu and then Dr. Bhaskara Mohan, Ashish Singh Ji, and Rajamukhi. Thank you very much. And with this, I will be closing the program. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Dwarak
Thank
and
you,
the
sir.
management for giving this opportunity. Thank you once again.
And Ashish Ji, in future, we will need your help.
Certainly, sir. Just a phone call away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being so cooperative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And end this.